Hey, Wells,
Hi.
Mike. Wells, can
I'm
you
sorry.
hear me? Oh, hello, Philippe, it's Mike. I was having trouble logging in. Can you hear me? I suppose you can, right?
I can hear you fine. Thank you, sir. We're going to start right now. All right. All set? Very good. All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is May 17th, 2021. Thank you for joining us this evening, the Bridgewater Township Council meeting. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on January 5th, 2021, with a subsequent meeting notice on May 13th, 2021. In accordance with New Jersey statutes 10:4-6, a sequence as amended to permit public bodies as therein defined to conduct public meetings by means of communication or other electronic equipment and with written notice and electronic notice provided to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building and filing with the township clerk. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Here.
Councilman Cardella,
I saw him before.
He was here.
Oh, he's here. He's on mute.
Yeah, here.
Councilman Nargales,
Here.
Councilman Ring,
Good evening, here.
and President Pedrosa.
I am here as well. Thank you. If you're able to stand wherever you may be, please do so and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
United
United
States of
United States of America,
and to the republic
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
and justice for
liberty
all.
and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay, we have minutes of May 3rd, 2021 for consideration and approval this evening. Any comments or motion?
I will move those minutes.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes pass. Okay, Township Council reports. First one I see on my screen today is actually my images. Councilman Nargales.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Our Muslim friends have just celebrated the end of the month of Ramadan, very important happening in their lives. I was at the, I'm aware that the bulky trash last day is this coming Saturday. We've already had the 2 prior Saturdays. I understand from Tom Genova that hasn't been as filled as it has been in prior years. Took part along with Councilman Kirsch in the Somerset County monthly governing officials meeting where Board of Elections Administrator Jerry Majette talked about the evolving election process. I attended a county-sponsored virtual meeting featuring a guest speaker from Green Spot Mobility, spoke about the installation of electric charging stations. That will evidently become a very big deal over the next couple of years. Attended along with Councilman Ring the quarterly local emergency management committee meeting chaired by Sergeant James Edwards. Attended along with President Pedrosa a meeting to review the timing for the bond rollover previously approved by the council. In fact, as an update earlier today, Council President, CFO Pappas and I met with our bond counsel and our bond advisor and are moving forward with the additional paperwork. This doesn't obligate us to anything. That will take several weeks, but it is not going to the bond underwriter yet. Still quite beneficial for us to do it, but we're in a wait and see mode at this particular point. I attended the first annual Founders Day celebrating the charter by King George II in 1749. Bridgewater was a much, much larger town then. We incorporated a number of surrounding communities. Attended a meeting with Tom Genova and Scarlett Doyle to discuss the modification of the tree ordinance, which was withdrawn at my request, and I appreciate Council President Pedroso doing that. It'll be represented tonight, and I think that we made a number of changes. Lastly, last Friday, Michael Pappas and Tom Genova arranged for me to tour the two large storage pumping stations, Gilbride Road and Easy Street. The tour was given by long-term employee Richard Boyer. Both stations are showing their age. Gilbride was built in 1985 and Easy Street in 1965. I believe it is time to engage an engineering firm similar to our road project to provide an independent view of the health of these two systems. Unlike roads, nobody sees these facilities, but we need to ensure that our residents can keep washing and flushing. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Ring.
All right. Good evening. Just a couple items. I was honored to attend the inaugural game of the New York Yankees AA affiliate, the Somerset Patriots, and I wish the best of luck to the Patriots this year in their new affiliation. As Councilman Norgalis mentioned, last week I attended the quarterly Township Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting hosted by the Township Office of Emergency Management. One of the things being worked on right now is every couple of years, the town is required to do a full-scale exercise to test the responders in large incidents, early stages of planning something hopefully for 2022. And then this past Saturday, I attended the township's inaugural Founders Day celebration and extend my congratulations to the administration, the Township Office of Constituent Relations, and the Recreation Department for another successful event. As Councilman Norgalis mentioned, the town has gotten smaller since we were originally formed quite some time ago. Unlike the town getting smaller, I look forward to seeing this event grow over the coming years. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Council Vice President Cordova.
Yes. Good evening. I really don't have a report this evening other than I was not able to attend the Founders Day celebration this past Saturday due to a conflict with a state committee. However, I do certainly recognize the the tribute that is required for such a celebration, and Bridgewater Township is certainly to be celebrated.
Okay, thank you. And last one on my screen is Councilman Cordova. I'm sorry, Councilman Kirsch.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So a few items. The planning board did not meet earlier this month due to lack of agenda, but will be meeting next a week from tomorrow. So I'll report out at our next meeting the results there. I also was at Founders Day. I presume that the mayor will give a more thorough report. But two things that really struck me. One is how wonderful it was to gather in person, hear live music, recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and hear the national anthem in the company of, obviously my colleagues, and then also sharing it with the wider community. It really was an outstanding event, hopefully a harbinger for other celebrations to come. I also was struck by how pleasant events are in our courtyard. I know that we did the Christmas tree lighting, the Hanukkah menorah lighting. There have been some other, rallies and organizations have used the space. This was certainly a great celebration. I think it's an asset that we should all keep in mind as we hopefully build out a calendar of items that members of the community can look forward to each year. And I believe that is a vision that Mayor Mensch has for that space. Next item, Councilman Norgalis mentioned the Somerset County Governing Officials meeting that he and I both attended. Jerry Majette, the administrator for our voting, spoke. And just a couple of quick items. One is the primary election is coming up on June 8th. So for those who are registered Democrats or registered Republicans or wish to affiliate with either of those parties, we are basically going back to a quote unquote standard election where some number of vote by mail ballots have already gone out. to those who are either on the permanent list or specifically requested it. And then the bulk of the voting will happen in person at our various locations. Individuals should look out for a sample ballot that is on its way to them soon. For the general election, that will be a very, very different affair. And in the next couple of weeks, I expect to report back out to the council on some efforts that Bridgewater is undertaking to ensure that there is an in-person early voting location somewhere in Bridgewater Township that is as convenient as possible to our voters. The new news for the upcoming general election is there will be a period of approximately 10 days of early voting, and there will be, according to Administrator Majette, at least 5 locations. We're certainly hoping that Bridgewater in an appropriate place can be one of them. And so that's an effort that I was on a meeting earlier today with some key township officials to make sure that we are well prepared and well represented for that potential effort. And finally, I had the pleasure of accompanying the final portions of our food donation to the Food Bank Network of Somerset County. That was a very successful drive that was put together by our township staff in coordination with Bridgewater United Soccer. So I was over at the Food Bank Network over on Easy Street of all places earlier today. And the grand total that was donated by Bridgewater residents, showing considerable generosity, was over 3,000 pounds of food and other household goods. So, I thank our residents for your generosity, for hearing the plea, for understanding that there are people in need, and hopefully on an ongoing basis, those who are blessed with excess can continue to help those who are not. And that's my report. Thank you.
Well said, Councilman Kirsch. All right, I just have a couple of things I want to highlight. I had the honor of emceeing the inaugural Founders Day event this past weekend. It was a beautiful day, a sunny Saturday, warm day. The Scouts did a phenomenal job with the presentation of colors, and we were honored with our middle school jazz band performing and entertaining the crowd. And thank you to Wegmans for providing some refreshments as well. Bridgewater is so rich in history, and thank you, Mayor Mensch, for starting what I hope will be and you hope as well will be an annual tradition here in Bridgewater Township, not only to recognize our Founders Day and our history, and also to make it into hopefully a wonderful family community day for everyone to enjoy with things to do. Bridgewater was founded in 1749. That's a long time ago. And you think about it, that's before our America's Independence Day. It was founded by a royal charter. And so we have been around for a long time. Parts of our town were used, but for Bridgewater, we would have Warren, Branchburg, Somerville, Raritan, and Bound Brook. All those towns were made up in part from pieces of Bridgewater Township in the 19th century. So I guess they owe us a little gratitude for giving away our land to them, but wonderful neighbors, so we're happy to have them. Thank you, Mayor, for starting up Founders Day, and I'm really pleased about that. I also want to report that I had an initial meeting with the administration and some people on the process of getting our council meetings back to some normalcy and getting them back into council chambers. I do see today Councilman Kirsch in our beautiful chambers in Bridgewater Township. Councilman Wing is over there, and hopefully we can all join him and get meetings back into a public live setting. And so I've started the exploration process with the administration and how to go about doing that. Obviously, a priority is to do it in a safe manner, but we also want to do it in a way that that works properly for the public, that's done in a reasonable fashion where public members can come and participate and be part of our council meeting. So we are starting that process, and I will report back and let you guys know how the progress goes, and I'll be working on that diligently over the course of the next several days and weeks. That's all I have to report. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. First and foremost, thank you for emceeing the event on this weekend. It really was a very nice event. As a couple of folks have mentioned, you know, this idea started as a way of expanding on what was the EcoBlast Fair, and the hope was that we could, instead of doing EcoBlast Fair, we could do Bridgewater Founders Day and turn that into a larger community celebration that would be able to include and encompass some of the EcoBlast Fair elements, but expand it into a broader range of activities and for the family. Obviously, with COVID last year, that killed both of those events anyway. So this year, we weren't sure what the restrictions would be at the time, so we decided we would do something that could start the tradition, get the event moving, start getting it on people's radar, and we will continue to grow that into what we hope will be really a premier spring event every year for the community to come together and celebrate our history, but also spend the day with their family with various activities and fun things that we can do. So we'll continue to build on that. Thank you to the middle school band, which came to play. I understand that that could have been their first, or was close to it, a performance in over a year. So it was great to see those kids perform. And I know that their band director and staff and parents were thrilled to do that. So all in all, great event. Most of the thanks, I believe, for the event itself, though, really goes to Wells. There's a whole team of, a whole team of people that helped with that event, but Wells certainly was the spearhead of organizing it. So thank you to him for his hard work and the rest of the Office of Constituent Relations. And that is my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. This evening, we have item number 7 on the agenda is a proclamation for 2021 Emergency Medical Services Week. And I'll pass it on to the mayor.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize all of our emergency medical service providers within our community. Of course, many members of this council, directly or indirectly, are involved in EMS services or have been at some period of time. And Councilman Ring had brought this to our attention, that it is Emergency Medical Service Week. And we put together this proclamation, which I will read. Whereas in communities across the country, emergency medical service providers are a crucial public service. And whereas members of emergency medical service companies are ready to tirelessly assist in life-threatening situations and deliver hope to residents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, around the clock. And whereas the emergency medical services system, many of whom are volunteers, consist of highly trained members of the public, first responders, paramedics, firefighters, police officers, emergency medical dispatchers, nurses, emergency physicians, educators, and administrators who work tirelessly to serve their community. And whereas EMS rescue squads are often the first point of contact with citizens in need of medical assistance, evaluating, communicating, and transporting them to hospitals or treatment facilities without hesitation, oftentimes under immense pressure that can take both an emotional or physical toll, or even on the most experienced professionals. And whereas the members of emergency medical service teams engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to reinforce their life-saving skills in real-time scenarios. Whereas it is not only appropriate to recognize the value of our emergency medical service workers, but imperative to commend them on their service to the greater good of the community by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Matthew C. Mensch, Mayor of Bridgewater Township, do hereby proclaim the week of May 16th through May 22nd, 2021 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Thank you to all of our first responders and EMS community for everything that they do to keep our town safe.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. That was beautiful. And we are so grateful for so many men and women who volunteer, provide EMS services and fire services on a volunteer basis to our township. And just on this council itself, I served 6 years in the Finder and Rescue Squad, several years back, but when I was in college, and then a few years after, and I know that. I mean, Councilman Ring, how many years have you been on the Rescue Squad?
34.
34 years. Councilman Norgalis has served forever on the fire. How many years, Councilman Norgalis, on the fire department?
37 active.
37. Thank you, sir. Oh, wow. And Council Vice President Cardilla has a long history of the Finder and Fire Department. How many years?
53.
53 years. Amazing. We all know from personal experience just the amount of dedication that it takes really to serve and on these volunteer organizations. And I know Bridgewater, I know all residents really appreciate all the work that all the volunteers have do and done for Bridgewater Township. So thank you, Mayor, for that proclamation. Beautiful, well said. All right, let's move on to item number 8, meeting open to the public. Is there, all right, let's get a motion first to open the meeting to the
Motion
public.
open to public.
Thank you. Is there a
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed to provide public input via electronic transmission, with all comments to be read into the record unless there are unusual circumstances. As it has been custom of this governing body, comments that are provided to this body are limited to 2 minutes of duration unless there are unusual circumstances. So if anyone wishes to address this council today, please be respectful of that rule. And we also typically take a couple minutes of recess to provide Mr. Winiger some time to organize all of the written comments that he's received and be prepared to read them for the record today. So why don't we take a 2-minute adjournment? It's now 7:53. Let's go to 7:56, just to err on the side of caution. So 7:56, we'll resume the council meeting.
And I'll just say for the benefit of the members of the public on the call, if you'd like to raise your hand to give live audio comments, you can use the Q&A feature also at the bottom of the screen for written comments. Just please include your full name and address. If you're dialed in by phone, you can text 908-912-4247. Again, that's 908-912-4247 for written comments as well. Just please also just include your name and address. Thank you.
seconds. Everybody to come back. Fifteen-second warning. Councilman Ring, Council Vice President Cardilla. There you are. All right. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Hirsch,
Here.
Councilman Cardilla,
Here.
Councilman Nogales,
Here.
Councilman Ring,
Here.
President Pedrosa.
I am here. Mr. Winiger, what do we have this evening?
Sure, I'll start with written comments I've received. First is from William Scahan, 19 Jeffrey Lane. I would like to ask why the paving of Crim Road took place prior to PSC then proceeding to tear up the road and put in new gas lines. Once they were done, the paving was done to cover the dig. Is it great? The first snowstorm we have, the patchwork will most likely be torn up. The road will again be a disaster and the money spent pointless. Why wasn't this better coordinated by the town, who had to be aware of both projects so as to prevent this? Next, I have comment from Kathy Franco, 766 WEMAC. I have a few questions / concerns for the council members and administration for a fair township. One, my question is, where is the township's budget proposal? The school board has approved theirs. The county has at least proposed theirs, and yet our township has not yet provided an indication of the potential impact for taxpayers to our township. Prior to the current administration, the previous administration would propose their budget in March 2019, parentheses, even if the town council chose not to vote until August. In addition, how will the township propose to spend the anticipated $4.3 million in federal relief expected for a township related to COVID? I cite as my point of reference the article in the newspaper. She cites a patch article with the title "Bridgewater Gets $4.3 Million Under COVID Relief Law." And finally, I would like to know why the same phone number is being utilized both by the township for text messages for questions to the Bridgewater Township Planning Board, to text comments on the March 23rd, 2021 agenda. This phone number is identical to the phone number listed on the Facebook page Mayors for Main Street, who is paying for this phone number. And why would a separate entity, Mayors for Main Street, utilize a phone number potentially paid for by the township? Or why would the township be utilizing a phone number not sanctioned and paid for by the township? In regard to question 3, I provide this information exhibits, and she attached pictures of an agenda and a Mayors for Main Street Facebook page. And my next question would then be, can all text calls sent to that number be Oprah'd? That is the end of the comment. Those are the 2 written comments I've received. I have not received, I do not see any hands raised or have not received any other communication from the public.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, make a motion to close public comment.
Sure. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Raise now.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay. Public portion
Mr.
is
Council
closed.
President, I have
Mayor,
just
yeah. Mhm, go
sorry,
ahead,
just
sir.
a quick comments on the 2 comments that were provided. With regard to the roads, unfortunately, we don't actually know super far in advance as to when some of these projects are coming forward, but they are, with regard to the road project specifically we asked about, they're going to repave the roads. So what we currently see is not how it's going to remain. So we're not going to have that horrific line going down the middle of the road. We're also in the process of strengthening and updating our overall road opening permit ordinance to protect the investment. I think I mentioned this last meeting, to protect the investment that we're making in our infrastructure, to make sure that whether any of the utilities can't come in, absent an emergency, an emergency is a different situation, but if this is routine maintenance or replacement, that they can't come in within a certain time at all, within a certain time period from when we pave a road, and then after a certain time period, there's a schedule of what they would have to do as accompanying that reopening. We are sitting down with two of the main utilities right now, though, to plan out what they know is on their 5-year plan to see if it matches up with our 5-year plan to do two things. One, make sure that we're not paving roads that are then they're trying to reopen. Because even if we stop them from doing that, there is a shared service opportunity where if they're going to reopen and pave the road anyway, well, if they're going to already have to repave it, then we can let them pay the cost of doing it and we don't have to. So we're trying to do that moving forward to make sure that we can maximize those shared cost opportunities, some of which we have been able to take advantage of so far. With regard to, there were questions with regard to the budget that continues to be ongoing. So as soon as we have those proposals, we will have that to the council. With regard to Mayors for Main Street, we use a Google phone. And as everyone knows, we're very proud to be one of the founding members of Mayors for Main Street, and we continue to actively support that organization. We'll continue to do so with regard to the other 20 plus towns that participate in it. So I think there's a question about Oprah. If somebody has an Oprah request, they can submit it and legal counsel can respond or handle it or whatever the law indicates with regard to those items. So that's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Council, I'm going to ask that we reopen the public session to allow one person to speak. There's a person in attendance, goes by the screen name of Lefty Grimes. I see that person raised their hand almost simultaneously as we were making the motion. So I prefer to defer on the side of permitting a public
Motion to
person
reopen.
to speak. Thank you,
Second.
sir. Is there a second? Aye.
Yes,
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, why don't we allow, why don't we allow Mr. or Mrs. Grimes to speak?
Mr. Grimes, you now have the ability to speak. Just unmute yourself, give your full name and address, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. This is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey advocating for disabled rights and cannabis patients' rights. And I'm at 84 Hanover, East Hanover, 84 Hanover Road, East Hanover. My question is, you have a smoking ordinance that I understand is consistent with CUMA. You don't want people, medical patients have to follow CUMA. What medical patients have to follow is we can't smoke on beaches, we can't smoke in recreational areas, schools, that sort of thing. And this ordinance is basically in tune with that, except that you have any forms of consumption. That's where the patients are affected by that. Because what happens is now you have somebody sitting in court for hours and the person next to them can take an OxyContin or an aspirin or whatever with no problem. But the person using a cannabis tincture or lotion or an edible is going to be sanctioned for what? Is that the case? Or is that, am I reading this wrong? Or is that something that's been dealt with or talked about?
At this point, sir, it's your, you get to speak and address the council, and then at the end, after you're done, if the council members wish to respond to you, they may do so, but they're under no obligation to do so.
Okay. Yeah, the problem I have is if it affects patients. If you're going to make somebody with cancer have to leave the building and go to some border, arbitrary border somewhere, because using a cannabis tincture is going to offend somebody, it's not. Cannabis tincture is not going to offend anybody. An edible is not going to hurt anybody. I can understand the smoking ordinance, of course, but why are we treating cannabis patients differently than we would somebody who's taking OxyContin, who's eating a pill in the courtroom? Because that's certainly not going to be sanctioned, eating an OxyContin, but you're going to sanction the cannabis patient. That's my question. That's pretty much my only question. Please keep patients in mind and keep people in wheelchairs in mind when you make any kind of ordinance. People in wheelchairs suffer enough as it is. We're medical cannabis patients. We suffer enough as it is. We're getting taxed by the state. We're getting taxed by towns. We're getting moldy medicine from corporate cannabis. So we need your help. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Motion
sir.
to close the second version of public input.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. I just want to say in regards to Mr. Grimes' comment that this governing body has not has not passed any ordinances or that would at all impact the ability of someone to use marijuana in compliance with state laws. So, Mary, you want to say anything else?
No, I think that's, I mean, Mr. Grimes raises a point. I mean, certainly there was not a specific discussion I'm aware of with regard to intentionally or unintentionally trying to address that issue. And I'll simply ask legal counsel to, review that. We've typically had indicated that is as a general policy matter, where the ordinances that we passed were targeted and are targeted at regard to the expansion of recreational marijuana and the concerns that we all kind of expressed ad nauseum about that issue, but that we were not taking steps with regard to medical. So I'll ask Mr. Corsini to review the ordinance and the concerns raised, and to the extent that there's he can give us his opinion at some point with regard to whether or not whether the situation Mr. Grimes mentions could be covered, and if so, the council can make a policy decision about how to handle it in compliance with state law.
Yeah, and I mean, and except for the use of marijuana in public areas, we really didn't touch on any use issues at all, except for the public areas as we deal with cigarette smoking in public parks, for example. Anybody else have any comments? All right, hearing none, we will move on to item number 11, introduction of ordinance. We have one this evening, 11A, an ordinance replacing Chapter 126, Land Use, Part 11, Special Environmental Requirements, Article, wow, what number is that? Article,
It's 36A.
is it 36A? 3, okay, 30, all right, 36A, entitled Remover and Preservation of Trees, Section 126-278.1 through 126-278.12 of the Municipal Code of the Township of Bridgewater, for the purpose of expanding the definition section, delineating additional exceptions, setting forth the procedure for obtaining a permit, delineating the criteria for tree removal, and setting forth the tree removal application fees in connection therewith. First of all, I just want to acknowledge and thank Councilman Nogales and Mr. Tom Genova of the Township of expeditiously bringing this back for council consideration. Administration. Is there anything you guys want to add? The mayor,
I have no
or
further comments other than this is updating our tree ordinance to make sure that we're balancing the important environmental aspects of trees and making sure that we're protecting that asset in the town, updating the ordinance as it applies today, and making sure residents know the process for removing trees when they're looking to do so. Councilman Nogales may he has spent a substantial amount of time with this, and I would certainly, as usual, defer to his expertise on most matters, but especially on this ordinance. He's done a yeoman's job on this one. So.
Well, as we all know, ordinances are living documents, and when we go to change an ordinance, we should not only look at the specific paragraph or paragraphs that are changing, but go back and opine on the entire document. And that's what we've done here on it. It's an 11-page document. There's a lot of items in it. It provides guidance for not only township residents, but also for professionals who might be in our township planting or things like that. And it provides the parameters. It identifies what types of trees are really, really important or really, really old. Gives things, little stuff like how do you measure a tree, breast height, that kind of thing. So Scarlett and Tom Genova and I met. And I thank President Pedroso for pulling it off the agenda at my request last week. I know he wanted to get it on for this week, and we were successful. In fact, unless there are other questions, I would move the introduction of 11A as a totally reworked ordinance for the Township of Bridgewater.
thank you for being so thorough, Councilman Nogales. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Roll call, please.
Hirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring, Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Pedrosa.
Yes. Did we get Council Vice President Cordilla? I'm not sure if we did. Is he here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I
Okay,
got it.
I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
seconded.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, very good.
I've got a list of
Ms.
dates.
Doyle? Yeah. Ms. Doyle?
Yes, the public hearing and final action will be held on the 10th day of June, 2021, at 7:30 PM. Unless otherwise stated by notice via virtual access with subsequent link made available to the public. And the ordinance will be available at no charge to the public.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to, we have several resolutions this evening. Let's start 12A. Appointments to the Board of Adjustment, regular member and alternates. Andrew Fresco, regular member, alternate 1. Gary Laspiza, alternate 2. Kevin Robo, alternate 3. Bruce Bongiorno, alternate 4. John Gajewski. We are technically adding Mr. Gajewski to the Zoning Board of Adjustments, and by his addition, just reshuffling people appropriately in the appropriate position. Councilman Kirsch, is there anything you wanted to add on this? I know you and I did interview Mr. Gajewski. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, my only comment is my ongoing appreciation to the Board of Adjustment. I was a member of that body for approximately 8 years. I know Council President Pedrosa, you had a lengthy tenure, somewhat immediately preceding mine. As pointed out, we are elevating Mr. Fresco to full membership, and then everyone jumps up a seat, so to speak. And Mr. John Gajewski, who we interviewed, has previous land use experience in another community. Appears that he will be an outstanding addition to the board.
Okay, are there any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to make the appointments under Resolution 12A.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Ring,
Yes.
President Pedrosa.
Yes. Moving on to 12B, authorizing an agreement between the Township of Bridgewater and the Bridgewater Raritan Board of Education for 2020-2021 hazardous busing in the amount of $245,220.04. Does the administration wish to provide any additional comment?
Yes, if I may, Mr. President, the council on an annual basis has such a resolution to be considered. The list of impacted students is presented to the township. The police department reviews it to ensure that the appropriate routes are reflected in the bus routes to ensure the safety of the students. And this then is presented to the council. I would point out that this is actually approximately a $6,000 decrease from last year. It does fluctuate.
The only thing I'd like to add to what Mr. Pappas mentioned was that we are required by law to provide this contract, whether or not we believe it is in the best format or way of arranging this particular topic, and therefore it's here.
President, if I could make a minor comment on this, this is important for the protection of our kids, and I'll give you a really quick example. On Milltown Road, we have a school on one side of Route 22, and we have homes right across the street. The kids on the other side of the street are bused to the school because it would be insanity to allow little kids to cross Route 22 at any time. It's probably even insanity for adults to cross 22. But in any case, this is an important function that we provide to the community.
think Councilman Ring was about to say something as well.
Yeah, I just one comment or concern. I know this resolution is not to exceed an amount of 245,000. In the list from the school board where they break down each of the schools, the very last line is, it was the two last lines, high school Bridgewater and then high school Raritan. I think we just want to make sure that we're not being charged the high school Raritan. I'm assuming that's for residents of Raritan. There's two high school lines there, so
Right.
I,
Well,
I-
Raritan
you know,
also has to contribute.
correct.
to-
I just want to make sure, before we actually write a check, we should just confirm that that's not included in our calculations.
Mr. Pappas, you
Yeah,
you heard
certainly.
the comments of Councilman Ring.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got
Very
it.
good. Okay. All right. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes,
President Pedrosa.
There's nothing more important to me than the public safety of our residents, and that includes all our residents, and that includes our children that attend public schools here in Bridgewater Township. And if they don't have a safe passage to get to school because the town doesn't have certain sidewalks, then they need to be appropriately provided transportation to get to school, so they get to school in a safe manner. So maintaining a town that's safe for all is something that I hold as a priority, and I support this. 12C, authorizing execution of a site access agreement between the Township of Bridgewater and Public Service Electric and Gas Company to permit the taking of certain soil borings within the municipal right-of-way. This was, just for everyone to be aware, there was a slight amendment provided. Was it today, Ms. Doyle?
Yes, it was later
Okay.
today.
Paragraph 3 was amended. Maybe Mr. Pappas, can you highlight what was amended for the public's purview so that they can, in case they read it before the amendment?
I think, yeah, I believe what the concern that was raised was, would there be damage done to relatively newly paved municipal roads? And the borings will not impact the pavement. It will be within the right of way, but will not impact the pavement.
Mr.
All right,
Pappas, one,
Council.
oh, I'm sorry, sir.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
One question. Now, this is for gas pipe main replacement. If they're boring in front of an individual's house, but not on their property, in the right of way, will they get advance warning lest somebody look out the window and find somebody's boring a hole in over by the curb? Will the residents who are directly affected, meaning it's right in front of their house, will they know about this beforehand?
I believe so, and certainly we will ensure that they do provide that notice. We have been in regular contact with PSE&G on various projects, and we certainly will ensure that that takes place here.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, I just want to extend appreciation to the administration and Mr. Genova on this. Some of the language that was changed today was a result of some of my comments and concerns regarding boring of roads, and as well as addressing some of Mr. Norgalis's concerns in making sure residents are notified. So I thank them for making the change, and unless anybody else has any comments, I'll move 12C.
And I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Pedrosa.
Yes. 12D, authorizing award of professional service contract to Chris Battaglia Associates LLC at 490 Ridgefield Terrace in Fairfield, New Jersey, for payroll processing services in an amount not to exceed $40,000. Mr. Pappas?
Thank you. We recently had resignation of our full-time paymaster. This simply outsources this function. We had a relatively short notice and had to have a way to ensure that our payroll system continued without interruption. And so this particular firm has been highly recommended by the company that, the platform where we track our time and attendance. And this is something that we want to propose for at least some period of time to observe to see how it's working. We do believe that there would be cost savings here, but we also want to ensure that the system works properly.
Questions? Motions?
I'll make the motion to approve 12D.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo, Councilman Cardillo,
He's on mute.
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
and President Pedrosa.
Yes. All right. Do we have a 12E? The 12E didn't download on my Dropbox. Is there a 12E? Or was that withdrawn?
Yes,
Mr.
there is.
Okay, so
12E,
12E is still active?
yeah, 12E is
Okay.
Phoenix Advisors.
Got it. Authorizing an award of contract with Phoenix Advisors LLC of 625 Farnsworth Avenue, Bordentown, New Jersey, to provide independent advisory services related to the Water Infrastructure Protection Act in an amount not to exceed $10,000 for a term of 1 year.
Mr. Council President, a few general comments on this one as well as 12F, which relates but is different. We've had some discussion as a general matter with regard to sewer. And Councilman Nogales mentioned earlier the need to really take a look at our sewer and formulate what is our long-term plan. As you know, we started this last year. We had a consultant come in to take a look at our billing structure and the financial health of the system. We're now expanding upon that. And we're looking at all options. So it may be that ultimately the administration and the council work together to come up with a recommendation that suggests that we are going to invest money into repairing it or take certain necessary steps to do that. One of the options could be selling the sewer system or something in between, leasing it, doing nothing. There's a lot of different options, but the real point here is that, as Councilman Nogales mentioned at the beginning of his remarks, sewer is something that has been long neglected that we need to do something with. So what this does, 12E and 12F, is provide us some of the tools that are necessary to evaluate both the financial health of the system as well as some of the structure of the system, the physical structure, to help start giving us the information that we need to make decisions with regard to the future of the sewer. This does not commit us to anything other than gathering information, which will help us make those decisions as to what the options may be. Again, if we're going to invest in it, we need to have a plan. We would propose something like we did with roads, a long-term plan. If we were looking to either lease the system or sell the system, there's a lot of hurdles that would have to be, things that have to be met before you can do that. This helps us tell us whether or not we would qualify to do that and what the health of the system on those two things. So that's what these do.
Very good.
As the mayor mentioned, E and F are combined. If Mr. President, you want to read F, I will be willing to move both E and F together because I think they are really inexorably linked.
Absolutely. I'll do that. If there's no objection by the council,
I'm okay
Right
with
here.
that.
great. Hearing none, I'll move on. I'll read 12F. Award of contract to Remington and Vernick Engineers at 3 Jokama Boulevard in Old Bridge, New Jersey for a licensed engineer, Water Infrastructure Protection Act in the sum of $19,900 funded through the 2021 Sewer Capital Bond Ordinance.
I
All right,
move
so we have
12E, 12F.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
A roll call on 12E and 12F.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes.
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Pedrosa.
Yes, it's prudent for us to know all our options and to have appropriate information. 12G, award of contract to Top Line Construction Corp., 22 Fifth Street, Somerville, New Jersey, for the Steeplechase Lane Improvement Project, entire length, in the sum of $301,742, funded through the 2020 Capital Fund, a New Jersey Municipal Aid Grant. Mr. Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you can see from the resolution, we went out to bid. There were 7 road construction firms that submitted bids, the highest being $472,160, and the one that is being proposed here, $301,742. This is for Steeplechase Lane. This is for the entire length of the roadway. We also have a $380,000 New Jersey Department of Transportation grant. So the township will see these costs covered. And we are encouraged by the pricing that obviously you can see. The pricing remains very competitive. And this particular company, as you all may recall, is one that we utilized last year extensively. They were the low bidder in several of the projects that we had. And they do exceptional work, and we're certainly expecting a good job there. One other point, if I can mention it, that's important because of the location of schools in the area, that the intention, and Mr. Byrne, Mr. Genova have spoken to the contractor in anticipation of this being approved because they're the low bidder, responsible bidder, and that the expectation, the plan is to have this work taken in July and August, well in advance of the beginning of the next school year.
Great. Any other questions or a motion?
I'll move.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
it.
Great. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes,
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Pedrosa.
Yes. All right, moving on to 12H. Somerset County Patriots requests to postpone the fireworks display from Tuesday, May 4th due to inclement weather, and reschedule the rain date of May 8th to Friday, June 11th to host a celebration of life ceremony for owner Steve Califer. Mr. Pappas, anything you want to add?
No, I think the title says it all. Yeah,
Sure
but
does.
respond to questions if you have any.
I'll move 12H.
Thank you,
I'll
sir. Is there a
second it.
Mr. President, if I may, just one quick comment.
Sure.
In the list of who we send the resolution to, the Patriots contract with private ambulance service there through the hospital. So I know we send it to Fin Darn Rescue Squad, but if we could add Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas to that, since they are the actual EMS providers on site.
Mr. Pappas, is that okay?
Sure, of course.
Okay, great. All right. With that, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
yes,
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Pedrosa.
Yes. And last resolution I see tonight is 12I, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant agreement with the New Jersey State Library under the New Jersey State Library Construction Bond Act for Phase 1 and 2 of the HVAC system replacement project at the Bridgewater Library at 1 Vogue Drive, Bridgewater, New Jersey, in the amount of about $2.8 million. Mr. Pappas.
Thank you. The council had authorized a submission of a grant similar to this about a year ago. We were not successful. There is a tremendous amount of competition, and this is simply authorization to pursue grant again.
Okay. So this would be a grant. This would be a not an expense, but a grant to the township, correct?
Yes, but you should note
There's
that,
a matching, Mr. President. I think the grant would be up to half of it, but Alan might know, but I think there's a matching for half of it.
that is correct.
Yeah.
We're responsible, breaking it down, we're basically responsible for 1.4 million, rounding it off with a grant of 1.4 million. So it's a pretty hefty project.
Take 1.4 million over 2.8.
Yeah,
Good deal.
So after the grant is approved, then we would have to then have to do a follow-up approval of any expenditures, correct?
Well, yeah, we'd probably bond for the balance because it's a long-term asset, but we'll see.
All right. Any questions or comments or motion?
I'll make a motion, we move this.
Okay.
I'll second
Is
it.
there a second? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch,
Yes.
Councilman Cardillo,
Yes,
Councilman Nogales,
Yes.
Councilman Ring,
Yes.
President Pedrosa.
Yes. Okay, that's the end of my agenda items. Do we have a closed session this evening, Mr. Corsini?
We do not, Council President.
Thank you, sir. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll
sir.
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none. That meeting is adjourned. Thanks. Thank you all for attending. Have a great night.
Good day.